Yeah. Okay, Ted. Yeah, Ted. I'll try and answer your question this way through what I experienced because experience is the teacher, which is the feedback, right? Experiential learning. Um, this is one of the reasons why, if you look at my timeline, for example, right? What is the best if you're gonna if somebody, for example, was to um, share a mountain of information with you about what they've experienced or told you about a place that was so bad off that you just couldn't believe what you experienced and you were glad to come home. And you said this place is it's just been like somebody took a wrecking ball to the place, right? And I would say to you, say, okay, really? Okay, well, see, oh, that's hearsay. Okay, I've never experienced anything like that, but I trust you because I have an intimate soul to soul, eyes to eyes, spirit to spirit relationship with you. So I don't have any reason to believe that you're not telling me the truth because I'm experiencing in your heart, which is what love is, which is what I'm experiencing in mine. So love is universal truth, which is the first unicycle, the first core CPU unit, an eternal star, an eternal spirit, the eternal spirit of fire. Okay, so now you're going to share with me what it is you've experienced. So I thought, well, that's what you experienced, but I didn't experience it directly. But in order for me to learn on my own, through my own CPU, then I'm going to go jump in there and find out what happened. So I'm not going to know what happened and know what the truth is unless I could go experience what the truth is, which is what I am, which is what love is, to go jump into a fallen system, which is mathematics. Yeah, so you realize I'm running at a higher rate of speed. And when you're running at a higher rate of speed because you're experiencing the first spirit, which is the first star, which is the first CPU, that's called the highest state of awareness. So it's all about cell awareness, which is inner cell, which is inner eartha, the core driver, the core CPU unit, the motor in the planet, the central power unit, that powers the ship, the starship. Right? Okay, so now you're going to do a diagnostic scan. You know what a diagnostic scan is, otherwise known as analytics, the electrofluid dynamics of magnets, how magnets operate, right? What it feels like at the completion of a circuit. Okay, so now I'm experiencing it. Now I'm experiencing the evidence, right? Because now I'm experiencing what you're experiencing directly because I have a direct connection with you. Cell to cell, spirit to spirit, sensor to sensor. How sensitive are we, right? The sense of sound, right? The smell, right? Everything that we're exposed to, right? What we inhale, what we absorb, what we inject and consume. So now I'm experiencing the codes. It's represented by the mathematical programming of hex geometry, right? Density locks. Lock the consciousness down and feed on it as a battery source. Running 60 hertz. 6. That's not 9, is it? So you realize you're cycling faster than 6. 6 fell. Oh. Okay. I know. So then it wouldn't be surprising why it is that if you want to understand the mental field and you're experiencing the mental field, where would be a great place to go learn? Through direct experience. Remember, I wrote my timeline. So I went to 6 psychiatric hospitals. See, now their doctors, what they do is they do all the book stuff, right? The visuals. Right? Program all that information into their head, which is future-proof past. So they were programmed to become doctors in the future. What they allowed themselves to be programmed to become through the information that they recorded in read active memory, which is compartmentalizing the drive motor. Right? Interlinks intercellular libraries. Planetary, cellular, galactic, universal, cosmic level memory banks. Right? The records, the recordings. I'm recording the experience, so I'm learning through the experience by virtue of recording it what I learned. right? So imagine what it was like, for example, to be in a psychiatric unit, and you can imagine all the different people that are in there, including teenagers and boys and girls that are in the child and the teenage section of why they're there in there, right? So you're learning through them by virtue of the communication patterns, which are the sound and light burn patterns, because we're mapping the history, right? Which is our records of how they feel because now I'm experiencing the result. And now they're able to communicate to me because I'm in there. So now they're communicating to me directly in circles of light in those rooms how they felt. Because this is where it gets honest, which means there's no escape. They call that a bottom in AA. That's why it's a 12-step program. How number 3 relates to step 4, which is the cell inventory, which is a self-examination of our records, how we got there. And then you work your way up to number 11, like November 10th, that's my birthday, 11103, right, of how I got here. And that's called an inventory, which is a cellular record inventory, which is a self-examination, which is an examination of an eye exam. The windows to the soul, the solar Rishi, right? So when somebody else has got a psychiatric degree because they went through all the classes and they were practicing what it was like to be a doctor in a hospital, ask one of them, have you ever been a patient? No, I mean, you voluntarily submitted yourself to be a patient, to experience directly what it's like to experience what they're experiencing, which is experiential learning. So this is one of the reasons why I sort of always give a big shout out to this guy named John Gatto, Gatto. He was he didn't initially train to become a school teacher. He sort of fell into it. There's another distraction. And John Gatto, particularly when I mentioned John Gatto, because John Gatto ended up becoming a school teacher in the city of New York, and he covered some really deep subjects about pedagogy, which is learning, and how they socially direct consciousness, because you were talking about consciousness traps. John Gatto directly addressed consciousness traps through learning. So he would talk about, for example, how the elites, as you think about the elites, the fallen ones, send their children to their elite schools. And one of the things that he mentioned was how they learn, right, how to manipulate humans, human angelics, human consciousness. And so I know, because this is tied directly into all those hospitals, right? And then I went to, remember, after the University of California, Irvine, environmental engineering, I jumped over after I worked at the Idaho National Engineering Laboratory, which was all the nuke folks, and went back to school at the University of Arkansas and finished a bachelor's degree in vocational education. And then I went into the graduate school of education and went into learning theory and the behavioral sciences. See how this is all related? Right? In other words, being a patient in a number of different psychiatric hospitals, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rooms that I've spent with other drug addicts and alcoholics. I'm learning through them how they felt, right? Including myself. So now I'm experiencing all this information, which is my record, at the speed at which I'm moving through space, right? Of everything that I'm experiencing, from which I'm learning, at the speed at which I am learning, right? So then I finished a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree, right? And that was in a master's of science in education, which is behavioral sciences, right? On learning theory, learning how to fall. Now you're into the programming, self-suicide programming, negentropic programming, neurolinguistic programming, reverse flow speech, reverse fire letters. This has everything to do with programming. Implosion codes. So one of the things that I realized, which is one of the reasons why I was in the Graduate School of Education, is by virtue of what? What I was going to learn through experience. By virtue of what they learned because of the field that they operate in, which is what? The learning field. Now we're into morphogenetic field structures. And why I've mentioned a great book, if you want to take a look at it, with the hex nut, the hex geometry, how the hex geometry water tables actually operate using numbers and fire letters, is in that book that was written by Terence McKenna as a result of what he learned by having a relationship with the morphogenetic field structure guy, Rupert Sheldrake, and Ralph Abramson, who was a mathematics professor at Princeton, who developed the Visual Mathematical Library at the University of California, Santa Cruz. And in this book called The Archaic Revival, The End of History, and the Rebirth of Gaia, Mama. And guess what? That hex geometry is in that book. Those tables are there. And it is labeled as, you know what a capital I looks like, but not the EYE, the capital I Ching. Oh, the I Ching, which according to Terence McKenna, I can't validate this because there is no time, there's only what love is, which is creation energy, that it's one of the oldest Chinese manuscripts, right? Tied directly to dragon families, by the way. Dragon lines, Legate lines, right? Tower Babel lines, cages, leashes, and collars, the complex number of prison, the prison complex, right? Complex prison as in P as in SI. Now we're back into the visuals. And so this is one of the reasons why the Walmart family was very well adept at this. Because if you want to see consciousness traps and see how they actually operate, go into Walmart and observe. Just observe how the visuals operate. When it comes to what? The exchange rate of electrons between quantum inverters and servers, accelerators, core CPU units, gifting electrons at a very high rate of speed and setting the variable speeds to equal them all out. So we're always experiencing zero, which is androgynous. That's what I am. Zero the clock's out. There is no time. Right? The first waveform, vibration, expand consciousness, burn a gas, the blue shield, a natural gas spiral. Have a beautiful day, Ted. I hope that helps. But yes, consciousness traps. They're particularly tricky when you're online, huh? Hiding behind keyboards, right? It was tricky when I was a child growing up because you're mapping the software, the unit of consciousness, which is the core CPU, the consciousness that is running the cellular processors, the software, right? This one's not running on real light. This is not natural light because that's not a natural spiral. That's dead light. That's fake light. That's real light. At fear, remember what fear is? False light, appearing as real, but it's not real. And this has everything to do with machines, machine learning, the speed of learning, and why they were using magnet spitting technology. Because this is the truth of it with artificial intelligence. Because the first field intelligence, the first EF5 field of intelligence is the creative quotient, which is C, which is 3. Okay? 3 waves, 3 spheres logos, Mama's 3 spheres logos. So the first creation field, the first field of consciousness, which is the highest intelligence because it's the highest creative quotient, is on fire to create. Artificial intelligence does not have any organic water code, hydrolase, ability to create anything out of what love is. That's why when I was a child, it's an insult to the first grand creator, the first spirit. It starts with spirit, which is the eternal spirit of fire, because that's what purifies our light, and that's our firewall to protect our original codes. We're creator beings. And love is the engine we use to create things with, huh? So yeah, it is the visuals. The illusion. Appearing as real, but it's not real. And the way that I know it's not real is because I'm real light. So it's easy to map the difference in what? Torque, speed, displacement, and water worlds. Between heavy dead water, like in the 1940s up in, where was that, Norway? Remember that movie? And light water, light spirit water, liquid consciousness, crystal, crystalla. Yeah. Aquafarian, agua as in water, water code, the organic water code. Water tables are matrix tables, fire and water, fire and ice. Perfect structural integrity that doesn't break down because we don't experience any decay as a result of negentropic neurolinguistic programming through machinery. That's why they killed off all the clans. See, they don't want spiritual teachers. So if you go back in history and look at Constantine, you will see that they banned spirit out of schools. Spirit does not apply to us because we're machines. Machines programming other machines. So we live in a machine world. That's why they set up all their corporations, which are job applications, okay, which all have part numbers, personal identity numbers, right? IDs for their employees. And that's why all their patents operate the way that they do under corporate. Why it's named corpus juris secundum, second law, which means it does not apply to first law, which is eternal, which is absolute pure love. So that means that they're fallen spirits. So fallen spirits don't have any first law authority. So when you're running first law, which is the first CPU, which is the first star, you have full elemental command authority. Now you got your template back because we've been recoding them. That's right. That's why all the codes are released. The maps. Map reading the right maps because the spin is the right spin, which is the right spiral. I hope that helps, Ted. Have a beautiful day. We love you all.